We had an executive session on October 26th. That will be the Board of Supervisors and Council to discuss personnel issues. We need to open bids for labor and equipment rental.
There are none.
Okay.
So who's gonna open them?
In mind. Public comment on non-agenda items. Ron Brostrom.
Are there any developments on the signage for South Chester Springs Road? Since the sign came down about a week, 10 days ago, the traffic has increased pretty significantly.
We talked with Toll Brothers, and they're going to put signage back up as soon as they could.
Will that be permanent signage or the same sign?
I think it's going to be temporary signage as we agree on what exactly the new signage should say.
Okay, is there a schedule for that, or?
In terms of agreeing on what the new signage would say?
Yeah.
Not yet, no, but we hope to do it soon.
Okay, Ron. Maria.
At the last meeting, the solicitor was supposed to check on the Black Horse Road payments and the contract insurance. I was wondering what the outcome of that investigation was.
You want to report on that, Steve?
Sure. The outcome of that was that Mr. Fleck was using an incorrect name on his invoices.
He was using
He was using an incorrect name. The name of the company is D&L Construction, LLC. He was using D and, well, he used a variety of things. D and, the word and, construction. He set up his letterhead in a way where he was using paving and excavating in the name of the corporation, not realizing that he was running afoul of all those rules to indicate what it is they do. And we actually did the corporate search and confirmed that the name of the corporation was D&L Construction, LLC, tied it to his EIN number. The other thing that went on there, and it's not all, I think, Mr. Fleck's fault, but he got the name that he was using, the D&L Construction, off of an IRS form. So, and I've seen this before, after they incorporated, and I did get copies of the articles of incorporation to match it all up, they applied for an EIN number, a tax ID number with the IRS and used the wrong name. He now realizes that he has to have his accountant file a form to change the name with the IRS to match the name with the corporation. We got resubmitted documentation, all with the appropriate names on them, and we did get copies of the certificates of insurance, which we actually had, and they, I believe, had the right name on them. And he resubmitted his proposal using the proper name and modified his letterhead to conform to the legal name of the organization.
And how much did that cost the township for you to do that work?
I don't know, I did not add that up.
Because one of the things that was mentioned at the last meeting was that if it was their fault, we would back charge them for that investigation. That was part of the video last night, or the last meeting.
I heard somebody out there make a recommendation to that
Yeah,
effect.
and
I don't know what the
I
board
believe Ken
decided
said,
to
yeah,
do.
if it was in fact their fault, we would back charge them. Pretty much.
If I may, I'm the owner of that company, and actually the letterhead did state D&L ampersand, but what didn't state in the contract is D and is in the contract spelled out. The paperwork from the IRS was sent to us, not, we didn't send the paperwork to the IRS sent the paperwork to us. So there was two separate paperwork that clearly defined it differently. So if we get back into that, I'm going to say in rebuttal to that both of those names were correct by the state. The EIN number was the same for both names.
Well, the EIN number was the same, I understand.
And so was the D&L ampersand with the state when we requested that number. So before you consider anything else, you might want to think about that and how.
That's
that
not
would
for
work
me
out.
to consider, by the way.
So,
Okay, Maria, do you have anything else?
Well, yeah, I guess I'm just still confused with who was the original contract awarded to?
It was a,
The same company.
well, it was the same company, but the letterhead on the contract was not, it wasn't consistent with the references to the names of the company in the document itself, and it wasn't consistent with the Department of State records. The EIN number was consistent.
Was the insurance, the original insurance, I mean, because the work was already done at this point, so was the original insurance
The insurance certificate covered the correct name,
from the very beginning?
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, Maria?
Yes, thank you.
Brian, you're next.
In that same meeting, there was one bill that showed that in one day it billed $10,275, and there was some discussion about whether that was a good description, whether it was for something larger. You know, how did we get a $10,000 bill in one day?
You didn't. I think the date referenced the date of the proposal. I think, Tammy, you can probably shed some light on that, right? Or Jim?
Does that mean, no, you're not going to shed any light on it, or no, you can't?
I know I cannot.
Then-
I can't shed any light on
Without
it.
looking at it, I cannot.
Okay, Steve, you discovered that by,
I did look at it, and I think that what it was the date of the proposal, which was 10-something, as I recall. It was another date, but it was not, did not reference the billing all being done in one day, or the work all being done in one day.
Does the bill that shows this $10,275 show what days the work was done, what was done, how many hours with what equipment, et cetera?
I didn't get into that detail. What I got into was making sure that the company name was correct and matched up to the proposal.
Well, then let me go and phrase it a different way. Steve, I'm not asking you. I'm asking the board and township staff. Has anybody looked at these numbers? It was raised at the last meeting. It was an issue, and we're not hearing any answers.
I didn't look into it.
I didn't either, Brian. I didn't have anything to do with it.
Jim?
I wasn't here and I did not look into it.
Brian, we'll look into it. We'll have an answer for you tomorrow.
Jim? Hey, James.
I'm going to ask one last question which relates to this. That thing showed up as being 10/7. We had a meeting on 10/12. Apparently it was not submitted at that point, and then was submitted at the 10/26 meeting. Why was the delay in there from one meeting to another? Or if you don't know right now, could you find out by the next meeting?
Yeah, we can find out. Right, Steve? Okay. John, what do you think?
I hope so, sure. I'm not sure I understood. I was right, Brian.
Well,
10/26
the thing
invoice?
is we've got a bill that was dated 10/7. We had a Board of Supervisors meeting on 10/12. Bill wasn't here. 10/26 meeting, the bill was here. Looking at today's bills list, you know, we're seeing a bill from 10/3, showed up promptly at this meeting. You know, what happened that it didn't show up on time?
We'll have to find when it was time-stamped in. You finished, Brian?
I'm done with that one. Thank you.
Okay, Jane, you
Okay,
next.
and just to touch on that, I believe at the last meeting also, I think it was Art that brought up, while we were in that conversation, that there were bills from the previous meeting that were dated from the same date as bills that were brought forward in this last meeting. Just wanted to touch on that. But I wanted to go back to the name thing. I think the issue lied where you had D&L Construction LLC was the original contract that was void. And then the other work after the voided contract was awarded to D&L Paving and Excavating. And that was where the confusion came the last time.
That's true, and I'm saying that the award of the bid was based upon the proposal that was submitted, and what he put on the proposal was incorrect relative to the corporate name, and he had D&L Construction Paving and Excavating LLC. In the proposal itself, he references D&L Construction LLC, and not ampersand. And none of those names were correct. And so what we had him do was resubmit the proposal with the proper names. We got the articles of incorporation, we matched it up. The EIN number was always correct, and there were insurance certificates that covered a variety of names, but we did have one that covered the entity from the outset.
So even though Jim told us on October 12th that it was a different company, it was not a different company.
I'm not sure I recall him saying that, but
He did.
Okay, I think somebody over here, Maria had her hand up. Sarah, I think, next.
Harriet asked me to make sure everyone was aware that on November 22nd, which is a Sunday, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the Historic Resource Committee will be doing an extended version of their Underground Railroad experience in West Vincent Township. 2 o'clock in the afternoon, November 22nd, Henrietta Hankin Library. So they expect the presentation will be approximately an hour long, and then there'll be plenty of time for questions and answers. And Isabel and Karen are bringing all their slides and maps and pictures, and they're very excited. And so for those people who went to, had a 20-minute view of the slideshow at the walk, this is much more enriched detail about that. And so I just encourage you to come out and learn more about West Vincent.
Okay, Kit, I think you were next.
Okay, I have two questions. First of all, is for Jim. Jim, isn't it reasonable that if a bill was submitted some time prior to the meeting of the 26th, which I know you weren't at the meeting, would you not have seen that bill? Who looks over the bills?
The bills are typically looked over, but it depends upon the bill.
I'm talking about the D&L FLEC bill for that.
D&L FLEC bills will be looked over by the treasurer, by myself, and typically by the roadmaster.
So they're looked at by three people.
Yes.
So those in those three people, nobody can quite remember what's on that bill right now. Nobody's looking at it. I get it. But being that it was looked at by three people, if it was for one day, the 7th, which was already billed, and it was for $10,000, I think it would have raised a red flag between these three reasonable people. So let's assume that that was the date of the contract, this was for work done between the two meetings, came up for payment on the 26th. I think we're at a witch hunt here, which just doesn't exist. Does that seem reasonable to anybody?
I will refrain from commenting on that, Kit.
Okay, second question. Does it mean now we don't have a labor and equipment bid? Since nobody bid tonight, does that mean we don't have a contract for that for the rest of the year? Or what is the ramifications of that?
That's what that means, yes.
Is it going to be put out again at great expense, or what are we going to do about it?
Generally, you have to bid it twice, right?
Well, if you bid it 3 times and there's no bidders, then you can, then you're allowed to contract with a company without going out to bid. So the question is, do we rebid it?
That is the question. Are you going to rebid it?
It's up to the board.
Is the board going to rebid it?
John's not, you said yes.
Well, I'm saying you're great. I mean,
Do you need a motion to do that?
is this
or
what
is
we
it
were
just-
looking to do?
Well,
Is
this
to
is
not
public
have
comment,
to not have a bid? This is crazy. And who would bid it now? The contractor is under so much scrutiny to this level. Who in their right mind would bid this? So you might as well just go contract somebody now, because nobody's going to bid it. It's not great work. It's not great pay. This is what I'm not sure people understand. And now to put this contractor under this amount of scrutiny is outrageous. So just go contract it, because nobody's going to bid it.
Here.
You have to follow the rules, Kit, that's all.
I know.
You have to advertise it 2 more times before you.
2 more times? That's a lot of money.
Yep.
That's great. Glad we're here.
Maria, I think you're next.
Well, actually, Kit, in a very different way, asked the same question I had, was who actually approves the invoices? And I don't really think this is a witch hunt. And I'm not saying that it has anything to do with the contractor, but I do think that some of our procedures could be sharpened up a bit, or tightened up, because we ultimately are responsible for the things that we contract for. So when bills come in, does anyone actually sign off on invoices? Because Jim, I know that I asked John, that for the last meeting on the 26th, John, at that meeting, you said you had just gotten those bills. Yet you had a bills list prior to that. Jim was on vacation, so Jim couldn't have seen that bill. He was on vacation between the time you got your original bills list and the new bills list came out. So I guess that would leave the treasurer and the roadmaster to approve the invoices from the last meeting that we were talking about. Who actually looked at those and signed off to know that the work was done? And there were 2 invoices that were dated October 7th. There was one that was was approved on 10/12, and then there was one from last time. So there are 2 invoices dated 10/7 on our bills list. Has anyone looked at those to see, is it the same work, is it different work? What work was dated October 7th? And it did come up at the last meeting. October 7th was the hot date.
I did review the bills list on
Okay.
last, or the road bills anyway, and they seemed like they were in order to me.
Do you know what what the work was from the first
I'll have to look
October
at it again.
7th and the second October 7th?
I'll have to look at it again. Okay. Jane.
So what's going on Black Horse Road? Because has anybody been out to look at it? As if you haven't, I have pictures to show you. It's pretty troubling to me.
Okay, it's not under the engineer's auspices. I have some questions about it that I haven't heard back from the engineer about yet. So,
I mean, there's places where there's 16 inches of asphalt, and it drops off the side of the road.
okay, I'll take your word for that. I haven't seen that, but I'll take your
You
word
want to
for
see
it.
my pictures I have?
No, I said I'll take your word for it. So, other questions, Jane?
I just want to know what's going on.
It was done under the auspices of the engineer. The inspector was there when we were paving. I rely on them. I think that's the questions for them. I haven't gotten answers for yet.
Do we know that we repaved an Upper Euclid driveway?
What's that?
Do we know that we repaved an Upper Euclid driveway?
The property line was in question, and in the interest of keeping the property owner satisfied, we did it.
Well, I don't think she's satisfied.
The reason I asked you, it looked on several parts, but particularly on this south side, there's like 8 to 10 inches of asphalt with no dirt coming up to the top. Is that done, or is it going to be more?
That's, I want the engineer to tell me how we're supposed to remedy that.
That's what I thought you were getting at. I mean, that's why I asked what your comments were.
Sorry,
Continuing question, Jane, or?
Something else
Okay.
I just wanted to bring up is I had a certified arborist out the other day that I had to bring out I have some dead trees I have to take them down. And I had him look at the trees along the road, and he's telling me because of the swale that was cut in, that those trees are gonna die in the next 4 or 5 years.
So,
Well, according to what you said the other week, now I'm gonna be responsible for those, even though it was your work that killed them.
I don't know how to comment on that, Jane. So, is that all, Jane?
For now.
Brian? You know?
You said that the engineer was out inspecting it, and you said, was it just for the paving, or was there other parts of the job that he also inspected?
No, he inspected every part of the reconstruction project.
Okay, and was this the normal engineer that we have, Mr. Yerger, or was it someone else?
It's their inspector.
So they have one person that does inspecting, one person that does engineering?
Well, they probably have 30 of each in their company, but usually Ken Yerger, not always, but usually Ken Yerger is the engineer that oversees the project, and then whatever inspector is working in the area oversees the construction that is designed by Carroll Engineering.
Okay, and I basically kind of have the same question. Looking at the drawing, which is not to scale, but the drawing shows that the swale coming in basically at the same level as the top level of the pavement. And I went over and looked at it today and went, holy cow, this is a huge edge trap. You know, if anyone goes off the road, particularly if they're on a single track vehicle, there's an accident right there, right now.
And I agree with it. I think there may be a condition that needs to be revisited. I think it has to be revisited. I'm waiting for the engineer to tell us how to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Jane?
When you're saying revisited, are you talking about the depth of the swales
The swales in relationship to the
to the road?
final pavement
Yeah,
level.
because you had told us that we would be able to take our lawn tractors in there and maintain it.
Right.
There's no way.
Right, that's right, that's right. I agree with you, I agree with you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, next item on the agenda is to approve the minutes of October 26th.
I'll make the motion that we approve the October 26th minutes.
I will second that motion. Is there any comment? All those in favor?
Aye.
Managers report?
Just a couple things to note. One is that the Sustainability Committee monthly meeting is scheduled for next Tuesday, that's the 17th of November at 7:30. And the Planning Commission monthly meeting is scheduled for the following Thursday, November 19th at 7:30. The next Board of Supervisors meeting is Monday, November 23rd at 7:30.
Okay, the active subdivision is next, and it shows no applications that are pending in any action from the board tonight. The bills list is next. For November 9th, 2015, the general fund bills list is $788,332.51. The reimbursable bills list is $96,302.82. And the subdivision utility plant bills list is $30,525.84 for a total of $915,161.17. And the invoices to be ratified are marked on the bills list with a dot. There's one of them for in the amount of $1,651.86. Do I hear a motion, please?
Yes, I'll make the motion that we approve the bills list in line for $915,161.17.
Okay, I'll second that. Is there any comment?
I have one before.
Yeah.
Jim, what is that bill to be ratified to $1,600? What's that for?
That is, I believe it's TRM.
Yes.
It is for a cover for the bed of the 2014 Dodge pickup truck. What was happening is water was getting into the bed and ruining things that were stored in the bed like flares. So they needed to cover the bed so that it wouldn't leak and ruin things that were being stored in the bed.
That is?
Okay, Bill?
Yes.
Okay, Francis?
Dutchman Contracting LLC, the Griffin Farmhouse. The last two words, change, was that or change of what? Was the bill over $19,000? It says a porch, I guess it's demolished, brick construction includes change of,
Change order.
pardon me?
It was a change order.
Yeah, there was
Oh,
a
a
change
change.
order for the,
Metal roof,
pardon?
metal roof.
Yeah, the metal roof.
Okay, the original roof was, I believe, asphalt?
Correct.
Is that it? And the other question, my last question, Merit Service Solutions for the park weeding. It looks like that park really only has to be mowed, doesn't, looks like it has to be weeded.
No, it's actually, the town, it's for the township building area, and it's also part of the portions of the park. And that includes various gardens and other things that are in the park.
Okay, thank
Okay,
you.
Francis. Hey, Suzanne?
This may be sort of a silly idea, but could you explain to us about the US Bank Operations Center and all of those different obligations and interest and principals that we're spending, the $683,000?
This is our payment payment that's due December 1st on the bond issue. The bond issue is primarily for open space. There's also some other things that were refinanced in it for the Township building and complex. So what you'll see there is we pay in the December bill half of the open space interest, which is $77,072.50. All of the principal we pay down for open space during the year, which is the $430,000. We have the interest chargeable to the general fund, which is $26,160.50, and the pay down in principal on general fund obligations of $120,000. This is the payment that we pay every December. There's a payment that's solely of interest, which is due June 1st. And it's to US Bank Operations Center is the trustee that collects the money and then disperses it.
And how long will these payments be going on? What is the length of the loan or the obligation?
I believe the original was 20 years, so we're in it, this is, I believe, the 4th year of payments. And what happens, and you'll see this in the budget for next year, is the interest payment goes down and the principal payment goes up every year.
And is there any way for us to pay this off more quickly?
Yes, there is. We were not able to prepay until, I believe, July of, I think it's 2016. But subsequent to July of 2016, we can prepay.
Thank you.
What's the interest rate on that, please?
The interest rate varies. It's as low as 1%. I believe it's as high as 3%.
Okay.
So there's various, not sure what you'd call them. I'm sure the bond people have a name for it, but there's certain amounts at various levels, and it'd be like 1%, 1.5%, 1.75%, 2%.
So it's between 1% and 3%?
Yes,
It's not very
that's correct.
Thank you.
Okay, Brian, I think you're next.
Okay, this says ASA Abaloy Entrance Systems. And then later on, we've got Unlimited Technology, and one is electric door maintenance, the other one is key lock repair. Are those two somehow related?
No. Two separate doors.
Two separate
The
doors?
the first one that you mentioned is for the front door. That's our only electric door. It had to be repaired. The second one is an emergency repair that was done to the lock on the police door when a key broke off in the lock.
Okay. Looking at there's almost somewhat similar to the earlier discussion. Under D&L Construction LLC, the first entry we've got is Black Horse Road, 1026/30, in 2015. And then we've got two bills, both paving, both, they say 11/10/2015, one of them for $10,000, one of them for $9,000. And, okay, we've got two bills the same day coming up to $19,000. It appears strange. And the following one, at least, is on 2 different days. Ken, at this point, where are we against our budgeted value for this job?
I think with the blacktop comes in, we're going to go over about 20%, looks like. All the bills aren't in yet, but that's the way it looks to me.
So we'll be 20% over $75,000?
Yeah.
So that would be about $90,000?
About 15,000 over.
Okay, well, you may need to go back and look at your calculations, because I went and looked at everything that, from the bills list, which are stuff that we've been billed by other people, for this job, and it currently totals $125,546.13. That doesn't include the hourly rate for the road crew people that we've had out there. This thing was originally budgeted at $150,000. We were supposed to have a savings by doing it in-house, and just on the external bills, we're now at $125,000, and you say that we haven't received the final bills yet.
Right, that's right.
So we're only off by, maybe going to come up on 100%?
I don't know, I'll have to go over the bills.
Okay. Let's see. Next question is Carroll Engineering. There's a bill for the Route 401 Elementary School sidewalk. I thought all the engineering work was done for that.
It was not. And this was the bill for the work that was done. There are 3 months of Carroll Engineering bills in here.
Okay, there's 3 months.
Yes.
So, in other words, the bills we've gotten before weren't the complete set for this job.
I don't know that we've gotten bills before, but I was made aware from Carroll Engineering that they hadn't billed and that they were submitting 3 months worth of bills.
Okay. There's an entry there for, okay, let me go, I'm getting out of order. Merit Service Solutions, weeding. Is there some reason why that isn't in the guy who mows the parks past description? Did we bring in an external vendor for it?
Yeah, because of the extent of the work that has to be done.
He doesn't have enough hours, is that what you're saying?
That's correct.
Okay. We have a bill for Richard Brown for tree removal, trimming 401 trail. That wasn't part of the bid contract verbiage that was included in the site preparation for the trail?
No, these were trees that the engineer didn't designate to be removed.
So we started a job and we decided we had to remove additional trees.
Yes.
And we, the township, removed them rather than having the contractor who had the job have them removed or remove them himself.
The contractor did what was required in his contract. The trees that were designated by Carroll Engineering, they were all removed. And he hired a tree contractor to do that, and he didn't want to hire a tree contractor again to do outside work, outside the scope of the contract.
Who made that decision that we needed more trees taken down?
Jim and I did.
What was the basis for it?
I don't want a branch falling down, hitting a child and walking to the school.
These were dead trees. It's a safety issue.
But this wasn't anticipated in the original design work for the sidewalk then?
No, I think the engineer missed them when they were surveying the site.
Is that a back chargeable item then?
I don't know. I don't know if it is or not.
Is someone going to check on it?
I don't know. John, you want to check on that?
Why would I check on it? But I'll be delighted to check on it and get back to you, Brian.
Okay. And the last one here is in the utility bills section. There's Deerfield mowing property maintenance. Is this the final mowing of the sewage plant fields for the year?
Most likely, yes. Again, it's weather dependent, but most likely, yes.
Okay. Do we have any idea what the total for the year has been for mowing those fields?
I believe it's double the amount that you see here.
Okay. That's it. Thank you very much.
Okay. Other comments on the bills list? Brandy?
Just in passing, we pay Carroll Engineering to do the engineering work on that sidewalk. It doesn't take an engineer to tell that a tree's dead.
Right.
I mean, I think I'm missing something there. I think maybe they should be a little more responsible of what they're doing, especially since children will, as you said, will be using that, and they're not putting in their contract the number of dead trees that have to be taken out.
I agree with you, Francis.
I don't know when it was done. It was done in the summertime, you could certainly tell a dead tree. In the wintertime, a lot of them, to me, they all look dead, but maybe it was the time of year they were doing, they didn't realize that the trees were deceased.
That might be, but I still think it was a little oversight on the engineer's part.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Maria?
Just a quick question. On the change order on the roof at the Griffin's house, how much was the change order for?
I don't know.
Off the top of my head, I don't know.
You know, John?
I'm sorry, I was writing.
He never listened to me. I was wondering what the change order was on the,
Maria just asked again.
the
You do
change
that all
order
the
on.
time?
All the time, all the time. Change order on the metal roof on the, when we went from asphalt to metal, I'm wondering what the change order, the amount of that was.
It was, well, I don't know about the other supervisors, I was notified by Jim Monogast by phone, and I gave him my two, I believe it was on the phone, wasn't it?
No, I thought it was at a meeting.
Maybe I heard it by phone first, but yes, I think I voted to go with asphalt, and the other two supervisors wanted to go with it.
How much was it?
It was like, if I remember, $2,500 or $3,500 additional, something like that.
It was $700 or some dollars.
No, I think it was
Is it
more
in,
than.
it's not separated out in the bill?
Well, it could be, but
We'll have to find out.
right,
I don't
thank you.
remember, John.
When I looked at that, I thought it was reasonable. I thought it was $3,500 for the metal roof versus the asphalt.
Okay, James, you next?
For the Cedar Hollow bill for Black Horse Road, can you explain what everything is there? I see 751 tons of dirt and mixed matter. We buy dirt?
No, the dirt was to pay to get it hauled away and disposed of in the DEP approved site.
So we paid to have dirt taken away, and then we brought other stuff and put back in there.
No, we did, the dirt came out of the swales, so nothing went back in there.
What about where the drains went in?
What's
It's my
that?
understanding a lot of dirt went out where the drains were put in,
Right,
and then stone came and
Yes.
was put in.
right.
Why do we do that instead of using some of the dirt that we took
You
out?
can't backfill a drain pipe with dirt, you have to use
Well,
some.
not a pipe, but to surround it.
No, you can't, when the ditch is dug out, you have to fill the entire
On
ditch
top
in
of
with
the
stone.
stone.
Right.
One of the neighbors asked me that, that's why I'm asking.
Okay. Is that all, Jane, or anything else?
That's it.
Okay. Other comments on the bills list? Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Under correspondence, Jim?
Under correspondence, this is to notify the board that the Yukon ambulance will be holding a municipal meeting for representatives of the township to discuss outstanding items that will be at their station on December 15th at 7 o'clock. Chief usually attends that. I try and attend that. The board can attend if they so wish.
Okay, under old business, we have one item, it's 2016 budget. The board needs to consider a motion to authorize the proposed budget for public inspection.
Yeah, well, actually, put it on the website so the public can see it. I would also, I prepared a summary of the budget, which I'm going to read tonight, if that's okay with the board.
Great.
With respect to the 2016 budget, overall, the 2016 budget as prepared is a balanced budget which does not call for any increases in taxes. With respect to revenues, the expectation is for a slight increase in real estate taxes, $30,000, and a slight increase in earned income taxes, $30,000, and a significant increase in transfer taxes, $125,000, due to sales at the Pulte and Eagle Farms developments. The open space tax, which is also an earned income tax, will also increase slightly, $15,000. The township does not expect to do any additional borrowing in 2016. It does expect to use the proceeds from the last bond issue for open space purposes. The building department / public safety should see increased fees because of the development activity by Pulte and Eagle Farms developers. This would also increase the associated legal fees and engineering fees paid by the developers. The carryover into 2016 of $2,413,000 reflects $180,000 in new open space tax proceeds over expenditures, accumulated open space taxes of $800,000, escrows of $230,000, a general fund balance of $1.2 million, and liquid fuel funds of $3,000. Culture and recreation revenues are expected to be flat. Liquid fuel funds are expected to increase by $20,000 as per information received by the township from PennDOT. Other income will decrease by $90,000, primarily due to the fact that the township will not be receiving any further impact fees from developers. Sewage system revenues reflect no increase in rates, but the year-long operation of the recently acquired Stonecroft plant. In terms of expenditures, salaries are expected to increase 3% for non-uniform workers and 3.5% for the police. The cost of the medical plan will increase by 5.45%. In general government buildings and plant, the repairs to the buildings is expected to decrease because the roof of the barn complex will not be replaced but repaired. The expenses for community development are essentially unchanged. Expenses for cultural recreation are expected to show a decrease because the mower was replaced in 2015, and this expense will not recur in 2016. Data processing expenses are essentially unchanged. The debt service will increase slightly as interest payments decline and principal payments increase. The cost of engineering services is expected to increase by $10,000 to reflect additional work to design repairs to certain roads. Miscellaneous expenditures are expected to be essentially unchanged. For the general government administration, the cost of new and replacement file cabinets will increase cost by approximately $7,000. Otherwise, expenses are expected to change by very little. In public safety, hybrid costs are expected to stay the same. The increase in code enforcement is primarily due to an expected increase in reimbursable legal and engineering costs. Emergency management costs are expected to increase by $500. The increase in fire-related costs is due to an expected increase in state funds for firemen's relief. I'll just make a note on that. That's expecting actually that the firemen's relief for next year will be the same as it was this year. Planning and zoning costs are expected to be flat. For the police department, an increase in health costs is due to changes in the health care policies and change in status, singleton, married, or family among participants. Small tool costs are expected to increase to allow for replacement of outdated firearms. Workers' compensation costs have increased, and the budget anticipates replacement of a police car with another police car. For the public works, increase in health care costs are due to changes in health care policies and change in status, single to married or family among participants. Contracted services are up by $100,000 to pay for the cost of constructing the Fellowship Trail. Machinery purchases will decrease, but the cost to purchase a new service truck over time is included. State-funded costs decreased because the 2015 budget included a carryover of unspent funds from 2014, and there is very little carryover into 2016. Sewage and water costs are expected to change little. It is still anticipated the township might sell the plants in 2016 to a PUC-regulated utility company. The expenses for winter maintenance, the township secretary, the township solicitor, tax collection, and treasurer are essentially unchanged. The carry forward into 2017 is projected to be $2,615,000, which is comprised of $200,000 in new open space tax proceeds over expenditures, $980,000 in accumulated open space taxes, escrows of $230,000, general funds of $1.2 million, and liquid fuel funds of $5,000. What I would propose is that we put this summary and the proposed budget on our website, and that if anyone who reviews it has any questions, concerns, comments, suggested changes to it, that they call me or email me at their earliest convenience.
We don't need a motion for that, do we?
That's up to you. You can certainly move to do that.
We'll give Jim permission to release it on the website.
Yeah.
You said the meeting?
Yes.
Okay. I'll make that note.
Again? Sure. I move that we authorize Jim to release the information on the summary and the budget, 2016 budget, to put it on the website.
Okay, I'll second that motion. Any comment? Maria?
Just a quick question for clarity. Jim, your report is comparing these numbers to 2015 budget, not actual.
That's good.
Thank you.
Any other comments? All those in favor? Any wish to adjourn?
No,
Question over
I
here.
have a question.
I really wasn't asking you, Sarah.
I know, but I wanted to, I put my hand up as soon as I could after you told me.
Okay, that's what I get for looking your way.
I know. That's why I had to make a noise. Open bids for labor and equipment rental, are you guys just gonna automatically re-advertise that, or do you need to have a motion to re-advertise?
I don't think we need a motion to re-advertise.
Do you wanna do it this week or in a couple of weeks?
I don't know, we'll decide,
Okay.
okay? Okay, motion made and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thanks for coming.